In this video, I'm going to show you how I built the most elegant table I've made so far. And above all, I'm doing it using simple tools that any woodworker would have. Just goes to show that you can make fine woodworking projects, even if you don't have fancy tools. So I've loaded these planks of ash wood and I'm going to turn it into a coffee table. I'm going to be basing it off of a kind of a mid-century modern kind of a style, hopefully sleek, curved table legs and like a more rigid top. I think it's going to look really nice. Alright, so I'm using this gauge just on the side of it, just so I can get consistent cuts. I don't need them to be exactly 6 centimeters wide, I just need to be them for them to be consistent, you know? Oh shit. Cut through my table again. So a few days have passed since I first started this. Life gets in the way, you know. But I have 4 table legs now that are roughly the same size that I cut out just using the track. Next thing I'm going to do is just cut a small 10 degrees angle off the top and bottom of all of them. I've shown this before, but I just have this quick jig that I use for cutting angles on this. It's like roughly the same size as the legs themselves and just allows me to cut angles with a circular saw as opposed to having to use like a miter saw or something like that I don't have. Eventually I will upgrade my tools, but for now this is all I got. Alright, here goes nothing. Pretty good miter edge, despite the burn from the saw that I got at the end there. So I messed up again. I don't know what I was thinking, but that angle is just way too sharp. This is too acute of an angle to have as a table leg. This is just ridiculous. I mean, look at this. Like this is I don't know why. I think it was 10%. I think I did 10 degrees off of the bottom as opposed to off the top. I wanted it just as a slight little 10-degree angle. Alright, well, I'm going to need to cut another table leg, I guess, and maybe make a new jig as well while I'm at it. Damn. So the next thing before I start working on the aprons is I want to figure out which planks that I want to use for my tabletop. Now I'm not just choosing it based on the grain pattern, although these tables are gorgeous, I have to say. Like, I just love the wood grain and ash wood, it's just gorgeous. But I'm also making sure that they book match together so they don't look too out of place. And also just that they're going to be able to be joined well. Sometimes they're not quite plain, although they're planed all over, they're not quite, you know, sometimes planks join better together, I guess. I'm not going to be using any dowels to join them or align them together, I'm just going to be clamping them together, so famous last words, but hopefully it'll all go right. So I don't have a vise yet, so I've just clamped this length from the apron onto the board, and I'm going to use my dowel jig in order to throw a dowel into it. I'm just using the dowels for alignment. Glue should be handy enough for attaching the aprons, but yeah. So I'm going to use these other offcuts, basically just for gluing blocks, so they'll have like a nice parallel clamp on them. So I have it glued and clamped up now. Quick little tip, if you're ever trying to clamp up something that's at an angle, you can always use the offcuts to wedge in between it so that you get parallel clamping pressure so that it'll glue together properly. Alright, so now that I have the legs made, the next thing I'm going to do is the two runners or aprons that are going to join the two legs together. I'm just using these offcuts that I had from, again, just offcuts from the other board that I make. Going to make one that's roughly about 80% of the width of the board itself, the top, should I say. Yeah, just handy being able to reuse these pieces. They're all cut to a similar depth, so yeah, should be grand. So, I'm going to need to cut out the notches in these legs so that the aprons, or whatever you want to call them, the cross supports, can go into them. I've already cut out some little lap joints for them to go rest onto. The idea is that these are going to be a little bit above the height of the actual legs themselves, because I want to be able to show off these legs. I don't want the top to just completely cover them. So they're going to slightly recess into the legs, and I just really hope, beyond hope, that I don't mess up my legs after all that fucking work I spent on them. Yeah, going to cut out the joints now. Wish me luck. Oh. Didn't mean for it to clear all of that at once. Ow. Wow, I'm surprised how well that actually chiseled out. Just goes to show what can happen when you actually sharpen your chisels properly. Perfect. Okay, so it's a new day now. The aprons, or the legs, whatever you want to call them, are all sorted. I have these, you know, the spacers in between them, the lap joints. It's all fitting fairly well and it's relatively level. What I need to do now is to decide what I'm actually going to do to attach them. Now, normally I would just use wood glue. I would glue these spacers in between so it would be a really solid joint with these half laps. The thing is, I'm planning on shipping this to someone on Etsy. If these legs were completely joined together, and I would have to ship it whole, it's quite a large amount of area that I would need to fit into a box. So what I'm thinking instead is using some screws, I know, screws and in the joinery, to attach these spacers between the legs. That way they could be taken out. I can have these as like separate pieces inside a box, and I can ship it the same way you would ship flat pack furniture, essentially. This will essentially allow me to save a lot of money on shipping, because I mean, if you want to ship something from Europe to, say, the United States, for example, it's a lot of money. Being able to ship it in just a small box that's like not taking up the entire size of the actual table will cost whoever's buying this a lot less. So I think this is the way to go. It's still going to be completely solid. It's just having actual traditional joinery where you're just gluing the pieces together is always nice. I think it's a small sacrifice in order to like take off $100 or $200 off of the shipping. Yeah, I may live to regret this, but yeah, I'm going to drill holes through it. So I'm thinking about this here now. Like, I have my pilot holes drilled. I have the holes countersunk so that the screws will go into it. There's just something about it. It's just like, instincts or what, I just really don't want to use screws with this thing. Like, my inner thoughts are just telling me to just glue this together and eat the costs of however it's going to be to ship. But you're talking like 200 or 300 quid less to ship this if it was like being able to be flat packed versus when it's glued together and screwed together. I don't know. I think this is just another one of these times where I'm going to have to sleep on it again, because this is driving me crazy. So in the end, I decided to cut some new cross beams for the aprons, and I'm gluing them in. It just didn't sit right with me using screws to attach these. If I wanted to create legs that would be disassembled, I probably should have thought of that in the design process instead of having this style of apron, or leg should I say. But yeah, I'm just gluing them together. If I am shipping them, it's seriously